Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get to it. EECS 440, if you look at the schedule, you are right in the middle of your P2 alpha, okay? And you probably noticed, right, some of those tasks are a little bit more involved, a little bit more interesting than in the first week. Please do your best, okay? Remember, you do not have to have every task 100% complete, but for grading purposes, we do want to see that you have some sort of not insignificant implementation in, okay? So you don't have to have your orbit cam perfectly orbiting around your character, but we want to see that you've gotten started on that in a non-trivial way, okay? All right, you are also in the middle of your Culture 3 assignment. That is Ready Player One, so please watch that and write the essay if you have not done so already, and if you have not attended the film session that we had a week ago today, okay? So before I get started, I want to show you kind of a neat topic, a topic I've been thinking about a lot. there's this idea in this course that we're going to go out, right? We're engineers. We're going to go out and we're going to find 3D art assets. We're going to bring them into our project. We'll hook them up. But we don't really have a good feel for how to make our own 3D assets, how to get in there, get into Blender or Maya, and start manipulating the geometry or the materials or even the animations and armatures of these objects that we want to use. This is the kind of thing I've been thinking a lot about lately. This is our little block M here. We've got this in Blender right now. And I've been thinking a lot about it because I've been designing and thinking about a new course on interactive 3D art. Now, possibly you already know this. If you don't know it, you know it now. But it's a very interesting topic to think about, right? As you design a new course, it is very similar in many ways to game design. You're trying to figure out what concepts are important, what are the nuances of those topics, in what order will you introduce topics, what will you do in the first week so that the second week is very natural, almost obvious, right? It turns out you can do a lot of really interesting stuff pretty quickly in Blender once you have a feel for its crazy UI and its kind of unconventional user experience, okay? Here, for instance, you can see we've got a block end. If I hit Tab, you can see the geometry that makes up this mesh. You've got vertices. You can see the little black dots there. You could grab them, but then if you want to move them, right, you don't press W like you would in Unreal or in Unity. You press G for grab. If you want to rotate something like this object, you don't press what is it, E? You press R for rotate. And if you want to scale it, it's S. So there are many different kind of philosophies when it comes to building UI. And Blender's, in many cases, is what is the name of the concept? And then, what key are we going to have the user press to try and help them remember that concept, okay? That can cause your hands to go kind of flying across the keyboard in a way that's a bit inconvenient. But the first week would very likely be simple things like manipulating geometry, right? Making basic shapes like this block M. But there are a lot of other really cool things you can do. And in your P2 and your P3 project, you might benefit in some ways if you go and watch some intro YouTube tutorials on Blender, right? 494 students are getting into their final project right now, and many of them are very excited to try and create their own characters for their own games. And likewise, you might be excited as a 440 student to start building your own props, to start building your own characters if you want to, though you certainly don't have to. A quick little demo of how cool this can be. You've got a block M, and you might say, well, this is cool and all, but I want to make it dance. How do I make it do that, right? Well, what we're going to do here, if we look at this block M, there's a lot of geometry, many vertices on this leg of the block M. We would really like to have the leg kind of bend and move around. We would like these vertices to all move in a sequence, okay? However, this is a little bit difficult to do vertex by vertex. You'd have to grab them, move them very slowly, get them all lined up. Very annoying. What you do and what you would learn to do in this course is create something called an armature or a skeleton, okay? And it can be done relatively easily. Shift A, let's add an armature. And if you don't know what that is, right, we can kind of see it right here. It's this little bone structure. Going to grab it, going to bring it to the center of our block M. I'm going to extrude it up into the center of the object. We can't see it anymore. The block M's geometry is blocking our view of it. So I'm going to click in front, and then I can just kind of build my skeleton just like this, really, really quickly. There are a lot of hotkeys to memorize, a lot of annoying UI and UX things that Blender does. But once you've memorized them, you can actually move very fast. I'm going to go ahead and take this armature, which is not associated with the mesh yet. I'm going to go click on the mesh, click on the armature, Control-P to parent with automatic weights. And now, when I move around these bones, I get this really, really nice and kind of authentic and very smooth-looking deformation of the mesh, okay? make that go away. And now I've got a totally kind of new dynamic shape that makes the block M look like a character. You can imagine us keyframing the different shapes and positions of these bones, the transformation of these bones, to make a little dance, okay? That could be really, really cool. And the kind of thing that might show up as an assignment in the new course design, okay? This is all to say that the topic of course design itself is very interesting. If it interests you, if you ever think you might want to be a teacher someday, please attend my office hours. Ask me some questions. I'd love your feedback on what you want to see in an interactive 3D art course. And as another topic, 3D art is a very, very, I think, enjoyable field for many people. It's very relaxing to create geometry and then rig it up and get it moving, get it deforming in a characterful, charming way. It's also an extremely technical topic as well. The more you know about how Blender and 3D modeling software works, the more you know about how various 3D file formats, what do they contain, how do they import into various engines, the stronger you're going to be when it comes to making apps and games that don't just play well and work well, but they look fantastic too. Have you ever heard of that phrase, you should not judge a book by its cover? Now, this phrase, right, it's good advice, but the fact is, a lot of people are going to do that anyway, okay? And I certainly have done that a lot. If you can get to a point where your software, your portfolio pieces don't just work well, they're not just well designed, they also look fantastic, they've got a style to them, then you're going to get a lot more attention than you used to, okay? That's simply how it goes. Unfortunately, no one really cares, or at least it's hard to tell just how good things are under the hood, right? When you refactor your code base, that's a really proud moment for you, and you've done a great thing. But no one is going to be able to tell, at least without doing a deep dive, okay? So anyway, topic of 3D modeling, very, very technical, but also very artistic, very enjoyable for many people. And it's worth your time to jump in and learn a few things if you've got some spare time, okay? This course is not super time intensive, so yeah, maybe you'll have some extra time, okay? Okay, I want to show you, before we really get into it, today's main topic, I want to show you another XR company, okay? This is Iris VR, and the idea here is to ask the question, what can VR do for architecture? What can it do for visualization? And also, what can it do for the pitching process? When you work at an architectural design firm, you produce plans, you produce prototypes. You are trying to win work from clients such as the University of Michigan. U of M decides that it has the money and resources and need for a new building, okay? Maybe the Lineweber building. But who is going to get that job? Who's going to get to design it and build it and get that big chunk of change as a result? Well, whoever can convince U of M that they've got the best plan, the best approach, is going to win that job. And so we have Prospect, okay? Prospect by Iris VR. This is the VR platform for the building industry. And if you look at this video right here, this GIF, you can get a good sense of what this application is. It's multiplayer, so you've got multiple people in a shared space in VR. You are inside of building structures. You are making walls go invisible. You're looking at infrastructure, pipes, electrical stuff, okay? You can annotate. You can view the cross-section of the various designs. You can get in there into the building itself, so you can get a very realistic sense of scale, right? Is this room going to have too low of a ceiling, right? Is the space too small, right? Are we going to feel cramped? Are we going to be able to fit our equipment in there, right? And this might seem like a small thing, but when you've got technology like this, right, XR, very exciting for many people. If you haven't put on a headset before, that first experience is pretty magical. It would be really nice if your client who's considering giving you a bunch of money, giving you the job, got their first VR experience ever using your software, viewing your design. Okay? There's a very good chance you're going to win that job if that is the case. Or at the very least, you'll make the impression that you are very much with it, right? You are on the bleeding edge and you have a lot of interesting tech at your disposal to do a good job. Okay? So I do not know these companies. Black and Veatch I've heard of before. I assume these are architectural and construction firms making use of this software. Win projects, save time, and catch errors. I've got a question for you. On Project 1, that VR laboratory recreation project, how many of you accidentally made the mistake of missizing the space, right? You're building out the space, you're blocking it out, you put the headset on for the first time and you realize, oh no, everything is huge. Like everything is twice the size it should be. I feel super short, right? And this is what they're talking about when they say, hey, catch errors, right? They're going to put you in the space, you can walk around, you can get a feel for, hey, is this room sized correctly? Can I easily navigate from one room to the next? Can I understand the space? Okay. This VR is super easy to use, they say. Any sort of 3D file they're going to support. It's immersive. It's collaborative. It is multi-user. They've got voice chat support, so you don't need to be in the same room. They have support for various different file formats. You can use tools like Rhino and Blender and other stuff. You've got a free trial for 14 days. I wonder what's the pricing. Okay, we've got a tab for that. For individuals, this is pretty steep. $225 per month for individuals with access to their own personal headset. So they're not going to send you a headset. You're not going to buy one from them. $225 per month for this software. That sounds like a lot, right? It sounds like a lot, but a few things to keep in mind. There's a very good chance you might not even use this software if you're not in pitching season, okay? You could go a few months without even needing a subscription. And so this probably isn't every month that you're going to pay for this. Another idea is that if you are pitching often, and if you are actually winning jobs and getting commissions, $225 might not be all that much. It might be a good expense for you, okay? You can have the enterprise solution, which is basically, hey, call us. If you are a huge architectural firm, then they might be able to give you discounts if you're pretty big, or they might be able to do custom things for you, okay? Custom features, custom support. If you want to allow multiple different people to use the same license, you can tie that license to a workstation at $350 per month, it looks like, okay? Seems pretty expensive to me. But anyway, right, VR meetings, client presentations, design reviews, coordination, and training. This is where the company thinks their market is. Business must be going okay because they've been around for quite a while, it seems. They've been here since the first semester we taught this in fall 2022. So hopefully they're doing all right, okay? It seems that they have raised about $13 million in funding, so it is possible that this business model is not working for them yet, and they're still just kind of living off of that investor money. Hopefully not. But an interesting company. This is a company based in the city of New York, which means that their burn rate is probably going to be pretty high in terms of local talent in the city, in terms of workspace in the city. And so hopefully they've got that business model going. But it's a very cool use of a VR in a very pragmatic setting. So a final announcement, IGA Ann Arbor is happening tomorrow. This is going to be an event where you can get a bit of extra credit if you attend, take a selfie, enjoy the speaker talks. Ravi is going to be giving a talk on game engine optimization, which may be of interest to you if you are interested in what goes on under the hood of Unreal or Unity, okay? Or if you happen to be making your own. Okay, so I want to do a couple things today. I want to talk to you a little bit. I want to show you what kind of XR research looks like these days, okay? If you have any designs to go to graduate school, get your master's degree or a PhD, XR is a fairly popular topic in a number of institutions. They usually focus on applications. So what can we do with VR that industry may not care about yet? Are there any unique problems that we can solve with these technologies that are going to be really, really important for people, maybe even a small amount of people? Later on today, we're going to talk about this idea that niche can be enough. As an entrepreneur, you want to solve problems. Big companies are usually focused on huge problems that affect many people. They have to. They're big, they got a high burn rate, they have to have a big market. But you're going to have a small team on P3. If you're at a startup, you probably have a small team. You don't need that many resources. You don't need that many customers. So we're going to talk about how to help out niches and what that means. So a lot of innovation that happens in academia when it comes to XR is applications focused. However, at Carnegie Mellon, they have a future interfaces laboratory. And this laboratory is really impressive. They focus a little bit less on applications, and they focus a bit more on the technology that makes interaction possible. Okay, this is a team. Here's their laboratory. It very much looks like a techie laboratory, kind of cool. This could easily be like Facebook's Seattle office. It reminds me a lot of that. And this is a team that builds interesting interfaces. For instance, is it possible for us to allow you tactile feedback on your face in XR? So if you have a raining scene, would it be possible that you could feel rain droplets falling onto your face or lips in VR? How would you do that? Would you have little things that like actuators that actually poke and prod your lips? It turns out no, we can use basically sound waves to achieve a similar effect. Let's take a look.
Today's consumer virtual reality systems offer limited haptic feedback via vibration motors and handheld controllers. Rendering haptics to other parts of the body is an open challenge, especially in a practical and consumer-friendly manner. The mouth is of particular interest as it is second in terms of tactile sensitivity to the fingertips and thus offers a unique opportunity to add fine-grained haptic effects. In this research, we iteratively developed a new and compact way to achieve haptics on the mouth. More specifically, we use a thin, compact, beam-forming array of ultrasonic transducers which focuses acoustic energy onto the mouth. Importantly, all components are integrated into the headset, meaning the user does not need to wear an additional accessory or place any additional infrastructure in their room. We explored several effects, including single impulse, pulse trains, swipes in the X, Y, and Z directions, and persistent vibrations. Our haptic sensations can be felt on the lips, teeth, and tongue, which can be incorporated into new and interesting VR experiences. For example, in this haunted forest scenario, users must walk through spider webs to get to a small clearing. Upon touching a spider web, an X swipe is animated, simulating the spider being drawn off the face. In the clearing, the spider jumps onto the user's mouth, which generates random impulses that simulate an insect scurrying around the face. Later, the user must shoot a flare gun at the spider, exploding it into goo that splashes the user. This utilizes random impulses centered on the mouth at a higher frequency. Finally, there's a large boss spider dripping with venom that rains down to the user, manifesting as random wide swipes on the mouth. We also created a school simulation of various real-world objects such as this water fountain. When the user leans in and their lips meet the water stream, they feel a series of rapid vibrating impulses. Later, they find themselves in the break room, where they sit down to drink some coffee, utilizing animated C-swipes to simulate liquid entering the mouth. They can also take a puff of a cigarette, which manifests as a high-frequency, persistent note on the lips. Finally, the user brushes their teeth before returning to work. Upon lifting the toothbrush to their mouth, the system animates a haptic node moving back and forth. Our final demo scenario is a motorcycle racing game. Our system animates a wind effect by rendering two outward-moving swipes on the lips. On the track, there are boxes that break apart upon collision. When this happens, we generate a single impulse on the user's lips lasting 500 milliseconds. It then starts to rain, which manifests as a series of slow impulses that hit the mouth in random locations. Puddles are now on the track that can splash the user, which our system happily renders as a series of rapid random location impulses on the lips. In addition to a formal perception study, we use these scenarios to gather qualitative feedback on our technique. In our survey results, we found that mouth haptics boosted immersion, realism, and other important factors in virtual reality experiences. For full implementation and evaluation details, please see our paper.
Right. So you look at that device. It is, pretty big. It is kind of ugly, but it is very interesting. It's an interesting technique, and something that you genuinely won't find elsewhere. Right. It is a bit rough, a little bit ugly, but it is new, a very interesting idea, and it proves a concept. You can do this kind of thing; it might be valuable. In some cases, industry will come along and say, "Hey, that's a great idea." It'll read, people will read the paper, and over the years, they'll find ways to miniaturize this kind of stuff. And who knows? You could find out new generation of headsets has now an array of devices capable of sending those acoustic waves at your face, and maybe not just your lips, but also your cheek or your nose or your forehead or whatever, okay? New libraries could come out allowing developers to control those kind of headsets and make experiences even more immersive. This is kind of where academia shines, right? Doing really unique, kind of weird experiments, staying a bit rough and proving out ideas before they then go get commercialized, either via tech transfer and startups or maybe partnerships with bigger companies that have the resources to really, really keep the research going, okay? Another one from the Future Interfaces Lab, this one's pretty cool. This is inside-out body tracking via controller-mounted cameras. So as you walk around with your MetaQuest Pro headset on, is there a way that that headset could know how your legs should look, okay? Could it do that? Let's take a look.
Today's virtual reality systems generally only track the position of a user's head and hands. To capture the rest of the body, previous systems have opted to use accessory lens sensors, external tracking infrastructure, or headset-mounted cameras with an oblique and often incomplete view of the lower body. We present a new and practical method for capturing user body pose VR, integrating cameras into the controllers, where batteries, computation, and wireless communication already exist. By virtue of the hands operating in front of the user during many VR interactions, our controller-borne cameras can capture a superior view of the body digitization. More specifically, our pipeline composites together both cameras on each controller to create two minimally occluded 185-degree views of the user. We then estimate the 2D body pose of each view. We use the resulting key points to create two more views that are torso normal aligned and compute two more body poses. We take this multi-view data and combine it with head and hand data reported by the headset and controllers. This view sensor information is fed to a multimodal neural network, which outputs a full body 3D pose estimate. To help project outlier poses and provide continuous animation during brief periods of tracking loss, we pass our raw 3D pose estimate through an inverse kinematic solver, which controls an avatar. This also means we start to build new and interesting leg-centric VR experiences. For example, we created this human Tetris game, where users must assume the correct full body pose to avoid obstacles and progress in the game. As another example, we created Beat Saber, where not only the hands must hit blocks, but also the feet. Similarly, this hockey goalie demo allows users to block shots any part of their body. Uses in health and fitness are possible too, such as this balance exercise app, which can be part of a rehabilitation regime. We can also extend the repertoire of exercises like VR fitness abstract, such as rep counting squats,
2, 3,
and lunges.
6, 7, 8,
Please see our paper for technical and evaluation details.
Right? So, pretty cool stuff. Another interesting idea. Will we end up with the next generation of Meta Quest devices having cameras on their controllers? It's not impossible. And a lot of the really interesting ideas for how to keep technology advancing come from university, but then they get spread and commercialized via big companies. Okay, that's a very typical thing. Anyway, if any of you were considering graduate school, right, AI is currently the kind of dominant topic in a lot of research. A lot of PhD students come in, they're focused on AI, probably over half of our students in our department right now. However, you could also explore things like XR and interfaces if it interests you, okay? All right. Anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. So, for the rest of the day, I think we're going to save animations in Unity. We're going to save that topic for next week when you really need them to finish some final tasks for Project 2. This actually brings up an interesting discovery. Let me see here really quickly. Where's wrong thing? EECS workshop, Gradle. Yes, so Andy found a solution, it seems, to the build on Android problem. If you are working on Project 2, but you cannot build to Android, then it appears you can make some edits to your Gradle properties file, basically telling it to ignore a library, it looks like, support v425, and that will allow you to finish your build, okay? So, Andy, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for discovering that. Were you just experimenting, playing around, or GPT, huh? Okay, well, there you go. All right. So, hopefully that will solve some issues if you're having them. So, for the rest of the day today, I want to talk about kind of an entrepreneurial topic. Very soon, you'll be thinking about what kind of project should we make for P3. And when it comes to having impact, there are a few things to consider. You want to affect as many people as possible, but you don't want to just affect them. You really want to make their day. You want to change their life if you can, okay? And sometimes it's okay to ignore the masses and focus on a niche, all right? Niche can be enough if you really have an impact in that niche, okay? So, a story for you. It's October 2021, and a company called Facebook has some big ideas, all right? Their leader, Mark Zuckerberg, has decided on a shocking name change, okay? In fact, he's changing the name of the company to Meta. There are a few reasons he does this. One cited reason is that they're not just Facebook, right? They're also Instagram. They have other products in their portfolio. They've got WhatsApp. They're not just Facebook. But Mr. Zuckerberg is thinking deep into the future, and he's hoping that the kind of stuff you see from Ready Player One, right? The stuff you see from Tron, The Matrix, right? Might one day be a reality. And if it is the reality, he wants it to be called the metaverse, and he wants to own that new platform, okay? So we've got tons of big headlines on that. This is a huge move for a company to make. It's why it was so shocking. Facebook is giving up a lot of brand recognition by changing their name to something new, to Meta, okay? And justification is seriously required for such a move. He can't just go and do this, right? He has to have a lot of good rationale as to why. And he provides it. When he changes the name of his company, he provides this video right here, fairly famous video of Mark walking around and trying to explain what exactly the metaverse is, okay? I want you to listen to this video, and I want you to pay attention to what he says about the metaverse and how you'll use it, okay? Let's take a look.
We believe the metaverse will be the successor to the mobile internet.
We'll be able to feel present, like we're right there with people, no matter how far apart we actually are. We'll be able to express ourselves in new, joyful, completely immersive ways. And that's going to unlock a lot of amazing new experiences. When I send my parents a video of my kids, they're going to feel like they're right in the moment with us, not peering through a little window. When you play a game with your friends, you'll feel like you're right there together in different worlds, not just on your computer by yourself. And when you're in a meeting in the metaverse, it'll feel like you're right in the room together, making eye contact, having a shared sense of space, and not just looking at a grid of faces on a screen. That's what we mean by an embodied internet. Instead of looking at a screen, you're going to be in these experiences. Everything we do online today, connecting socially, entertainment, games, work, is going to be more natural and vivid. This isn't about spending more time on screens. It's about making the time that we already spend better. Screens just can't convey the full range of human expression and connection. They can't deliver that deep feeling of presence. But the next version of the internet can. That's what we should be working towards. Technology that's built around people and how we actually experience the world and interact with each other. That's what the metaverse is all about. Now, the best way to understand the metaverse is to experience it yourself, but it's a little tough because it doesn't fully exist yet. Some of the basic building blocks are here though, and others are starting to emerge as we speak. We're starting to get a sense of how it could all come together and what it could feel like. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. Rather than focusing on this year's products like a normal keynote, we're going to talk about the future. So let's start by exploring what different kinds of metaverse experiences could feel like, starting with the most important experience of all, connecting with people. Imagine you put on your glasses or headset and you're instantly in your home space. As parts of your physical home were created virtually.
Right? So, right, you kind of get it. Mark is going through the paces, and he's trying to explain what this is and what it could mean. But there are a few things in this video, if you are just kind of a casual watcher, you might miss, okay? Mark Zuckerberg's not just trying to explain what the metaverse is and impress you as a consumer, he's also talking to another party, okay? Does anyone know who Mark is also talking with when he says that we're building the successor to the mobile internet? We're building a place where you can conduct work or recreation, okay? All of that stuff. He's talking to investors, okay? Mark, around this time, is taking a lot of heat, okay? He is under pressure from Congress. He's under pressure from his own investors. His company has gotten booted partially from the Apple iOS ecosystem. They can no longer track users the way that they used to. Their advertising is getting less effective, okay? They've been boxed out of some places that they want to be, okay? And so they need something to help them come back. In this intro presentation, when he says immersive video, he's actually saying we're going to challenge YouTube, okay? The next YouTube will be ours, okay? That's pretty exciting, actually. If you're an investor and, you know, a Facebook stock is taking a beating as it was around that time. He says corporate communications, right? We are going to be the place, the metaverse, where you go and you conduct your business. You meet with people, all that stuff. That is saying we're going to challenge Microsoft, okay? We're going to be the future business suite. We are going to defeat Zoom, okay? Now that's pretty exciting. Those are very big markets, okay? If Meta can win in those markets, they will bring in a lot of revenue, all right? He says everything we do, online, entertainment, games, and work, okay? He is really picking a fight with everyone. Mark Zuckerberg wants to be the one-stop shop. When he says successor to the mobile internet, he's saying, hey, right, the next version of the internet, that is really, really exciting. The metaverse will sell to everyone, all right? And as far as investors are concerned, that is glorious, okay? Everyone is a lot of people. and a lot of people have a lot of cash, okay? So Mr. Zuckerberg is not focused on any niche. Mr. Zuckerberg has to sell to as many people as he can, okay? And yet, it did not work out. The metaverse became something of a meme. In the very first lecture in this course, we joked about it just a little bit. The metaverse is flopping a little bit. Headlines like this from Forbes, okay? Why is the metaverse failing? Okay. And one interesting argument you'll hear come up all the time is, hey, Mark, why don't you just make a good version of VR chat? People like VR chat. VR chat has a lot of fans and a good number of users. A small company has been sustained for many years off revenues from VR chat. Okay? Why not just make a good VR chat and call it a day? And the reason is that Meta is an $800 billion company with nearly 90,000 people, okay? They cannot aim that low. VR chat is simply outside of Meta's weight class, okay? Meta cannot just try and make a good VR chat. They have to make the next internet, okay? Simply due to their size. They have to try. They might not succeed, but they do need to try. The good news, though, for you is that you are not Mark Zuckerberg, and your team, your P3 team, your future startup team, is not going to have 90,000 people, okay? You can target smaller, more niche use cases, and you can sustain in that fashion. And I want to show you a couple of the more beautiful use cases I've seen in quite a while. Simple, but so obvious when you think about it. This is a pair of glasses that will live caption and add subtitles for people who are deaf. Let's take a look.
Can you see it? This is a new way of being able to communicate and be included. She's like, she's naturally looking at me, but she realizes she doesn't have to prove me. She can look through the glass.
Hello?
Hey Josh, it's Juliet. How are you doing?
Hello, thank you. How are you?
It's powerful. It's powerful. The power and important for people who are hard there all over the world to feel that they don't have to solely rely on lip reading anymore. And it's a big one. I'm getting a real-time stream of subtitled information where ordinarily I might be behind. I might not quite catch everything, but this is giving me a real-time narrative which enables me to be informed, it enables me to be involved.
Effectively, we're taking that audio stream from the microphone on the glasses. What we're doing, though, is then taking those captions and putting them into augmented reality. There was just a little epiphany moment where I thought, hang on a second, he watches TV all the time with subtitles on. Why can't we subtitle the world?
Would Mark Zuckerberg have any interest in a product like this? Maybe. Maybe he has an affinity for this kind of impact. But as far as financial income, right, as far as taking care of his business, keeping it going, keeping stakeholders and investors happy, there are a lot of people suffering deafness, but that's not everyone. That is not the successor to the internet, okay? But a smaller company like the one you've seen here can go and justify, having that kind of impact, getting in there and solving a really important problem for a group of people who really, really need it. Not a huge group of people, but a not tiny group of people either. Okay. I want to show you another awesome little product here that, again, is a little bit niche, okay? This is, and let me know if you've seen this before. Actually, you know what? I want to maximize this one. Let's get this out of Firefox. Have you ever heard of the Microsoft Adaptive Controller? I have a couple of these in my house for experiments and stuff like that. Let's take a look.
At Xbox, we have a controller design that our fans love. However, for gamers with limited mobility or gamers who don't use both their hands, this controller design might not work best for them.
Doorknobs are the worst thing ever invented.
Putting on shoes, the cell phones that I use. These are the sorts of things that we don't think about until we have to, and I think about them every day.
Yeah!
I have cerebral palsy on my entire right side. This side of the controller is fine. This side doesn't have it. As the game platforms have gotten more sophisticated, the controllers have gotten more sophisticated, and it started to get really frustrating.
We designed the Xbox Adaptive Controller through feedback from the accessibility community.
The Xbox Adaptive Controller is really easy. You just plug it in, and then you can plug in various other devices. I can make it work for me the way it has to.
With the Xbox Adaptive Controller, a gamer can game with one hand and one foot, or one hand and their shoulder, or even one foot and their chin.
And I can change it for you.
Good. Ready? Forward. There it is.
Craig Hospital is a facility for patients who either had a spinal cord injury or a traumatic brain injury, and it's a place for their rehab.
Yes. We're here every game night and helping new patients getting back in the game again. Is that the idea?
Yeah. Our role as occupational therapists is to get people back to doing when the Xbox Adaptive Controller acted like the Xbox controller just worked.
Over there.
Ooh.
On the standard Xbox controller, it's just hard to press the buttons because I can't really put pressure in my hands. But then with the adaptive controller, I can use like larger joysticks, larger buttons that are easier to press and reach.
Corey and his brother Zachary are twins. Before Corey's injury, Zachary had gamed with him regularly. That was the way they related to each other as siblings.
Who do you love playing Xbox with? You're a Craig Hospital.
The Xbox Adaptive Controller and the co-pilot feature allowed them again to play games together. So there's a huge social component to it.
Yes, yes. They can play any game they want. I see the confidence just burst out of them.
So the sales of adaptive controllers are probably not going to be something that Satya Nadella speaks about on the quarterly conference call. But you can see that even big companies like Microsoft, they sometimes have internal teams who are really focused on these kind of more niche but very important problems and solutions. Okay, so pretty impressive stuff. This has been available since 2018, and I think what's the price for this? The subtitling live caption glasses we saw were, I think, 450 euros or so, or maybe pounds. I don't recall. This is $99, and this is a kind of low volume, a little bit rare device. It's big, okay? It has some custom features. To sell it for $99, Microsoft's not making a whole lot of profit on these controllers, probably, okay? But they are getting a lot of really great PR, and for the internal team that really cares about these problems, it's really, really important for them. They're happy with that. So, a question for you. You can be like Mark Zuckerberg, and you can say, I want to sell to the entire world. But as a smaller team, you should know that you also have the opportunity to become someone's world, okay? Not selling a ton of units, but really solving problems that matter to the few people that you do sell to, okay? When you look at the people you impact, right, you aren't just helping them have a fun day. You are really changing their life in a significant way, okay? If you look under the YouTube video for the live captioning glasses, the CEO actually has a comment right in there. I'm Mitchell, one of the founders of the XRAI Glass. Thank you for liking our video. It's the most profound and rewarding initiative I've ever been involved with. Nothing better than empowering people to have a richer and more inclusive life, okay? We're humbled and proud. And, you know, that might sound a little bit like some corporate speak, but it's hard not to believe him when you see the impact that these seemingly obvious devices have on the people who use them, okay? So very exciting stuff. I have a quick personal anecdote, right? I'm working on some video games. I tend to make games that are a little bit more esoteric, right? They feel a little bit more retro. They're older school, okay? Sometimes the games are a bit strange, all right? The game I've already shown you, right? Basically a survival horror game from the PlayStation 1 early Resident Evil and Silent Hill days, themed around a college campus. Imagine that, okay? It's a game that's kind of tough, okay? The puzzles are a bit obscure. It's a bit weird, okay? However, even though this is not a game that's going to sell that many copies, it seems that the number of people who play, it's not very many, but those who play really do seem to like it, okay? Taking it to conventions, some people just bounce off the game. Other people, it's exactly what they've been looking for, okay? And so we have that niche can be enough, all right? So when you go to think about social impact, which is the major goal of this capstone course, you should consider two things: the number of people you could possibly help, but also multiply that by how much you are going to help them. If you think about a product like, I don't know, a new Mario game, okay? A super popular franchise, very accessible. A lot of people can play it. A lot of people will. You're going to help a lot of people with that product. But what are you really doing for them? You know, you're giving them a few good afternoons. Maybe you allow them to have fun and build relationships with friends and family. That's really good stuff. But you're not giving someone back their control of their limbs. You're not giving them back their ability to hear, okay? So the amount you are helping them isn't that much. The good news is that you are reaching a lot of people. Compare this to something like the live caption glasses. The number of units you're going to sell here, not that many. But when you do find a user, you are giving them back so much of their life, okay? They will be loyal. They will be very, very impacted by your work. And they'll remember your product forever, okay? So something you should consider on this topic: when you are dealing with niche audiences, with niche crowds, okay, you have to be careful, right? Financial sustainability is one of the criteria you'll have to answer for on your Project 3, okay? And when you have fewer customers, you might be tempted to charge them more, okay? Low volume, that means it's more expensive. We should charge more. However, you cannot do this at all when it comes to niches that need whatever product you're selling. Does anyone know what this person is right here? His name. Very famous face, famous name, and not necessarily for good reasons. You might say infamous. This is Martin Shkreli, okay? And he is known as, I think, the Pharma Bro, okay? That's his nickname. He purchased the rights to a drug, an anti-parasitic drug called Daraprim. Gosh, I can't remember when. I wish I put the year on there. But a number of years ago, he purchased the rights to this drug. A very important drug. People need this to stay alive, to stay healthy. And it was only, I think, $10 a dose when he bought the rights. Yeah, he raised the price from $1,350 to $750 per pill overnight, okay? And he wasn't just trolling gamers here. He wasn't squeezing super fans of a media franchise. He was trolling people who are sick, okay? And the backlash was extreme and universal, okay? He developed a super negative reputation. Suddenly, right, Journals such as the New York Times are writing about this fact, how the drug has gone and become super expensive. CNBC, right, starts digging into him, right, finds some other stuff he's done. Pretty soon he's getting into legal trouble and getting sued for millions and millions of dollars. He would end up in jail. I think he served a couple of years in jail for financial shenanigans. And all of this kind of brought on by, trying to pick on and squeeze people who really you shouldn't probably be doing that too. Okay, there's an argument that, hey, you put in a lot of investment into research, you have to recoup that, you have to have somewhat high prices, but $750 is much different than $15. Okay, much, much different. So the main objectives for this lecture today, in the time that we have left, is I want to talk to you about some different niches that exist out there, some well-known niches, and how AR and VR are being served, okay? How they're being used to kind of solve for and help some of those problems. The objective here is to try and give you some ideas on what kind of problems you might want to solve with your P3 and how you might go about thinking about those problems, okay? This is, after all, EECS 440XR for social impact, and so we need to start thinking about that social impact, okay? So anyone know what this is? This building right here is a pretty well-known building, especially given what we've just lived through in the past few years. This is the CDC, okay? Center for Disease Control. They have a lot of guidance that they issued during the pandemic, and they're a good source for a lot of different statistics relating to disabilities and illnesses and things like that, okay? So it turns out 1 in 4 adults in the U.S. have some sort of disability, which means that there's actually a fairly big market probably for you to try and address with VR and AR, okay? These are issues with walking or getting around, transit, right? Vision, okay? Not being able to see very well, hearing, right? Cognition, getting confused, getting lost, okay? The WHO, the World Health Organization, has stats covering the entire globe in a similar fashion. One interesting issue and disability, one that actually my 494 students have to think a good bit about when they design their UI, when they choose their color palettes for their games, is color blindness, okay? When you look at these pens up here, right, you might not know that they are very different colors. If you don't have color blindness, you might not understand what's going on. This little tool right here on colorblindAwareness.org kind of gives you a sense of how difficult it can be to actually see different colors when you are colorblind, okay? Right here, you have a really cool image. When the slider goes over, you can see that, wow, the green grass is very distinct from this blue right here, right? But when you move it over, you can see that, wow, a lot of the colors are just kind of blending in. They look like the same colors. It's a bit of an issue, okay? 1 in 12 men and 1 in 200 women will be impacted by color blindness. That means a lot of people in the world have this problem, okay? If you are looking for a big market, this could be one. It's often relating to a kind of defect in color detecting cells in your eye. And red-green color blindness is the most common. If you are designing things like signposts, or the warning lights on the side of an airplane, or the stop-and-go lights at an intersection, choosing red and green would not be an ideal choice, okay? Thankfully, there's often some other hint as well. So a stoplight doesn't just use color to tell you to go or stop. It also uses position, okay? The green color on the very top and red on the very bottom. So what can you do if you know that your users might have color blindness? What can you do to help them, for instance, enjoy media or play a game? Well, I want to show you a really cool video here of what League of Legends did. I think this is, maybe this is MOBA or Dota. I can't remember. Let's take a look at what they did to help users with color blindness.
Now, for colorblind players, the early days of League of Legends were pretty rough.
red-green colorblind players could barely even tell the difference between their opponent's groups and their own. They're called minions? What? Why do League players call last hit CS then? God, it's like this game wants to. Riot's solution is a one-size-fits-all colorblind mode which combats both deuteranopia and protanopia. Those suffering from deuteranopia have trouble seeing green cone pigments, while those with protanopia struggle with red cone pigments. This mode turns most of the red and green in the game into blue and yellow, allowing players to differentiate between all of the abilities more easily. But what Riot didn't expect was for non-colorblind players to start adopting the same setting.
If you watch a lot of pro player streams, you might have noticed that some of their HP bars are yellow rather than green. This is because they use a setting called colorblind mode, which was originally meant for people who have trouble seeing specific colors or who can't see colors at all. Now, by turning this on, the abilities will look much more distinguishable and they'll actually be easier to see.
You see, these colorblind changes...
Right. So I definitely commend them for switching to maize and blue over red and green. But you can see that just making small changes like this can really have a big impact on people's ability to play and enjoy their favorite media. Fortnite, right, biggest game in the world right now, and for quite a while now, has a lot of settings related to this as well.
Over here because I want to keep it consistent. Alrighty guys, so here's what the game looks like on total mode. This is no colorblind settings or anything. Then I'm gonna hop right here into my settings, and I don't know what that music is. And oh yeah, I forgot it's on the first page. Right here, colorblind, we're gonna go to Duke, we're gonna set all the way up to 10. And as you can see, this makes the game very dark. But here's Duke Note 10, so it's very dark, it has a lot of contrast. I'll go ahead and switch this down to 5 and show you guys what that looks like as well. Here we go. As you can see, it's pretty much the same thing, just a little bit less severe. Alrighty guys, so moving on here to Pro, but you can see it's a lot less dark. It still has that contrast to it, but it's not quite as dark as Duke. Personally, I think this is a pretty good mix of like having that little bit of darkness there, but also having that big contrast.
Right, so there are different kinds of color blindness, and whereas a game like Dota 2 or gosh, what was that? Was that League of Legends? I think it was. We'll try and have a one-size-fits-all mode. Other applications of the software will try and provide options for many different types of color blindness. Okay? Phantom pain is not only kind of a visceral and vivid phrase, it is a real condition. Okay? Does anyone know what phantom pain is? How it affects you? Yeah.
It's when you have a lost limb and you kind of like feel that limb there.
Yes, that's right. So you have some sort of lost limb situation, amputee, and you still feel a tightness, a pressure, a pain emanating from where that limb should be. Okay, it shouldn't be there, but it is. It is a phantom pain. Okay, yes, these images kind of give you a feel for what it's like. It is it is also a bit of popular culture. Metal Gear Solid, the Phantom Pain, 5th game in the series. 80% of amputee patients suffer from some sort of phantom pain. And in the USA, that means, right, you're getting like 1.3 million people affected by this. That is not a small market, okay? Pain and discomfort will emanate from a phantom limb that doesn't exist anymore. The pathophysiology, right, how this works, right, why the brain does this, isn't super well understood yet, okay? But what is somewhat understood is that there are ways to mitigate phantom pain. Well, the famous example of how to do this, Dr. Ramachandran had a mirror box in the 90s. The idea here is that you could use one limb that still exists and you can make an image using mirrors that suggests to your brain that the other one exists. You can kind of get your limb back, thus relieving and mitigating that pain, okay? Here's what it looks like this. So as a way of managing that pain and relieving that pain, you can use mirrors in order to trick your brain into thinking your limb is back, okay? Now, this is using like stock mirrors. And so what could we do if we had a technology that mimicked the real world but we could kind of artificially bring limbs back or change those limbs. What if we had virtual reality? At the University of Texas at Dallas, right, here's some research that does that. Another research lab kind of focused on applications of VR and AR. Let's take a look at what they did.
My full name is Frederick Dean Peterson. I've been working with prosthetic leg for just about 17 years now. Then in 2005, I had my accident, and that put a little damper, but not as much a damper as we thought it would. And so I've just been enduring since then. They said, well, you're a good candidate. Would you come back next week and we'll fit you for it? So I did, and got the basic training from them, took it home. It was a 1-month trial, and you're supposed to do the exercise in the morning and in the evening. And in my case, the whole idea is to deal with phantom limb pain. And there's a therapy that's been done for decades called mirror therapy. And that's all this is a version of mirror therapy, trying to trick my brain into thinking I actually have a foot there. Because a lot of the phantom limb pain is just your nerves saying, I know there's supposed to be a foot there, I'm trying to find it. And so when you're tricking it to believing it's actually there, the nerves calm down.
So you can see there at the end that they don't just have kind of a mirror feature. They also have exercises, right? There's a game being played to try and get the patient to move that limb. And if you recall from the video, the patient was doing this for a month, and I think every day they were supposed to do it in the morning and then in the evening, okay? And the objective there is to just try and kind of rewire your brain a little bit to release that pressure, to stop looking for the limb. Yeah, very powerful use case, okay? Impressive stuff. So what is the point of telling you all of this, okay? When it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes time to go out there and find a problem and then develop a solution for it, there's a very common path that a lot of students run into, and it's not a good path, okay? The typical path is that you build a cool technology. You're excited about VR or AR, and then once you've built the solution, you try and find a problem for it, okay? You're kind of moving in a reverse order, right? As you look for problems, you start to understand those problems better. This approach almost never works, okay? The much better approach, the way a true entrepreneur will typically approach a problem like this, is you first want to find problems out there. You want to go looking for issues that people have. Go find those smaller, harder to find niches of people who have unique problems that no one else has bothered to address yet. Then you try and understand the problem, and only after you've got experience with the problem, then you finally build the technology, the solution to solve it, okay? It sounds obvious, but it's so easy to say first, I really want to use AR for something. So you build the AR tech and then you try and retrofit it onto some problem. Okay? No, it's better to go out there, do research, meet people, talk to people, and then discover their problems, and then you can go and use technology that fits. All right? If you go to Ann Arbor Spark downtown, if you go to the local incubators around our state of Michigan, you will find these organizations that will actually sponsor your company, your startup. They'll give you resources. They will try and help you grow that business into a big one to employ local residents. Now, as part of their boot camp, they'll require you to do something. They will require you to talk to 100 people, do 100 interviews before you even touch the technology, okay? Why would they do this? They want you talking, they want you getting out there, meeting people, and discovering what the problems really are. Not what you think they are, but what they really truly are. Only after that will they support you in building solutions for those problems, okay? So, anyway. All right. When you go the other way around, when you start with a technology and then try and figure it out later, you can lead to a lot of malinvestment. And this is often extremely embarrassing. Okay, has anyone ever heard of the famous Juicero? Very good. Juicero. Juicero is currently a meme. In entrepreneurial and technology circles, it is regarded as a sign of Silicon Valley's excess, its waste, right? Its desire to solve problems at any cost, even if they do not exist. I'm going to show you the trailer for Juicero, okay? And I'm going to give you a moment to form your own opinion about whether you would buy one of these, okay? Let's take a look. Juicero. Juicing made easy.
Customize and save.
This is why I don't use Chrome. Didn't Chrome just ban some ad blocker tech? It did? You want to know why Google chose to make a browser? That's why. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. Juicero.
Juice is easy. Start by taking a stroll down to the neighborhood farmer's market. Buy about $50 worth of organic fruits and vegetables. Don't forget to bring tote bags. Do you tote bags?
No, we'll just carry it.
Did you forget your toe?
Wash your fruits and vegetables. Chop them. Wash them again. Peel them.
I think this deal is broken.
Dig your juicer out of the back of your cupboard. Realize there's still a part missing. Find it. Figure out how to put it all together. Then juice. And enjoy. Oh, but did you think you were done? Because you're not. Now you've made a big mess that you have to clean up. The machine, the countertop, pretty much your whole kitchen. Alright, so making this isn't easy at all. It's actually a huge pain. But what if it didn't have to be?
What is this?
It's a Juicero.
I'm sorry, I don't know that word. It's Juicero. Okay, define it for me.
Juicero, the best juice ever. What comes out of Juicero is so fresh that it shouldn't even be called juice. It should just be called, I don't know, squash produce, because that's what it is. Our founder Doug straight up made a juice.
Literally, there's juice in my veins.
Doug and the Juicero team have taken care of everything. Not just the washing, the peeling, the chopping, but the harvest, the wash, the refrigerator, transport, the inspecting, and eventually washing, packaging, and finally delivering to your house. And we haven't even gotten to the most genius part yet. There's nothing to clean. No mess whatsoever. It's so easy that it makes the whole way of juicing seem, well, old.
Why did I do that stuff?
Who cares? That's our past life. This is our new life. Juicero. The easiest, freshest, most delicious way to get juice.
Is this the next billion-dollar company? What do you think? So this is a well-made advertisement for the most part. It's very slick. The actors do a good job. And it's got, a sense of comedic timing to it. It's some pretty good media. However, the product eventually has to stand up alone, okay? And Juicero, unfortunately, did not, okay? The Internet of Things is getting big. What about a juicer? An idea that was very kind of popular around 2015 or so, all right? And so Juicero comes out. We're going to take the act of creating juice. We're going to soup it up. We're going to sex it up. We're going to make it cool and high-tech, and people are going to love it, all right? But at some point, the developers of Juicero forgot to ask a question. A really important one. What problem exactly does the Juicero solve? And I'm actually curious, what problem does the Juicero solve, in your opinion? Yeah. Yeah, okay. It solves some inconvenience. Do any of you do juicers? Do you juice stuff at all? It's not that inconvenient in the first place. But, it's slick. Maybe it looks good in the house, okay? So let's say for a second that maybe it solves the problem of juice pressing quality. So, machinery in there, the advanced technology within the Juicero is going to result in improved taste and nutrition, okay? A big problem happened when I believe some Bloomberg journalists got a hold of the Juicero and they decided to hand squeeze the packets that you get, okay? Comparing them, I think they did a taste test as a control. There was no difference, okay? The quality was not different. It was faster to just squeeze it by hand. You didn't need the super expensive hardware, right? The packets, right, of ingredients and materials, that was kind of nice, okay? It's nice to get that. It's convenient. But what's with the super expensive hardware? Why do you need that, okay, if you can just squeeze it out? All right, so that can't be a reason. That's not a problem it solves. Now, what about the problem of raw organic juice availability, right? Andy, like you were saying, okay, it makes it more convenient. Well, this already existed. This exists today. Like, you can purchase kind of pre-prepared juiceable content and you can save a lot of convenience that way. It's much cheaper, right? It's basically the same thing. So it's not exactly a problem that wasn't already solved, okay? So you ask yourself, well, what problem are they solving? You get the feeling that the creators said, I want to make a juicer, we'll justify it later, okay? We'll figure it out later, okay? I just want to make a juicer. It's cool. It's exciting. People will pay for it. Hewitt, who is the reporter who really kind of broke Juicero wide open, the Bloomberg reporter with that story, squeezing it by hand, in reflection, right, the anniversary, I think, of the Juicero, he said, you can have this idea with the best intentions and a lofty vision for what you'd like to create, and you end up creating this beautiful, strong, and gleaming machine. But you somehow lose sight of the fact that the machine is not needed for its main purpose, okay? And so that's why it's so important to find a problem first, okay, and do research. Are there any competitors that already solved the problem? If there are, is there something they miss? Is there really a way that we can have an impact here, okay? And so, if you can believe it, Juicero was not just a small startup that tried and they lost track of things and they failed, and it happens, right? This is a team that got $120 million in funding for a problem that did not exist, okay? And that is a bit of the spookiness of Silicon Valley, right? I will tell you, I talk very often to some of our local game studio heads, okay? The biggest, the founder of the biggest game studio, mobile game studio in Michigan, I see him, just about every other day. And he tells me that raising money in Michigan is tough for technology. Everyone wants to see that you've got traction. They want to see that you've got customers and clients, right? They're already giving you real deal revenue. You're making money already. Then they'll give you the money. If you go to Silicon Valley, especially last decade, if you go to Silicon Valley and you say anything related to crypto or XR, or especially these days AI, if you just change your company's name to have AI in the title, you're going to have so many offers you won't believe it, okay? It'll be easy for you to go and raise far more money than you might think, okay? Well, that's what they say. And when we see examples like Juicero, it seems to be the case, okay? So here is my plea to you. Please, when you're thinking about P3 and when you're ever trying to do any entrepreneurial activity in the future, even if it's not a startup, maybe you're in a corporation or a university and you're just trying to find a problem to solve, please focus on the problems first and understanding them first, and then select an appropriate technology to solve it. One of the problems that XR and VR and AR have faced is that for a while, the metaverse was the solution to all of your problems, okay? You could do anything in the metaverse. You're going to move your friends and family to the metaverse. You're going to live there 24/7. Just put this headset on. You'll never want to take it off. That was never realistic at all, okay? There are problems that VR and AR are extremely good at solving. But unfortunately for Mr. Zuckerberg, many of those problems are a bit more niche, okay? Medical rehabilitation, it is fantastic for, but that's not of interest to Mr. Zuckerberg, okay? So, right, focus on finding a problem, and then you select a technology to try and fix it once you understand the problem. If you think about something non-XR related, I've got a challenge for you. The topic of visual impairment. You can't see super well, right? You're not entirely blind, but it's difficult for you to see very far or with precision, okay? How do you deal with this? How do you make food if you are visually impaired, okay? Maybe we can use VR or XR. Maybe crypto and the blockchain will save you. Maybe AI will, okay? But you know what? The American Foundation for the Blind thinks is one of your best solutions, your best products, a simple $50 microwave from Amazon Basics, okay? Do you know why? Because it has Alexa built in, so you don't need to press any buttons. You just ask Alexa for 30 seconds of heat, okay? Alexa, reheat my cup of coffee, please. That's it. A $60, my bad, a $60 microwave on Amazon Basics is not sexy. It's not exciting. It's not romantic, okay? But it will get the job done for you at a very good, accessible price, okay? If you are visually impaired, you don't need the blockchain to help you make a meal. But there will be plenty of startups trying to convince you that that is true. Okay, technology and hype is a very big deal. It's a very damaging situation right now, and we'll talk more about that kind of toward the end of the semester. Okay, EECS 495 is another course, another capstone course, a great one. It's called Software for Access, and it's a course that kind of has a different style to EECS 440. In EECS 495, you usually meet someone at the beginning of the semester who has a certain disability, and then every team will try and tackle possible solutions to solve that problem, okay, or to mitigate that problem. And so it's a really, really fantastic course. I highly recommend it if you have some extra time. But the takeaway for today is that please do not worry about scaling right away. Don't worry about changing the world. Please get out there and explore the world. Talk to people. Find a niche, a small group of people with interesting problems that go unaddressed, and it will be enough. Find that niche, and it will carry you, okay? And I hope you'll think about for P3, okay? Keep that in mind. Try and meet people. You don't want to be in here just developing technology, okay? That is a lonely path, right? Make your technological, your engineering journey about other people. Get out there, find people, find their problems, and then use your superpowers, okay? People can't believe what you can do after you've graduated. Use your superpowers to solve their problem in a real, tangible, and non-hyped up way, okay? And that'll take you to great places. That's all I have on this topic. Please remember that niche can be enough, okay? Not if you're running EA, okay, or if you're running Meta. But if you're running a smaller company or team than that, then it's probably enough, okay? Okay, anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, very good. I think I'm going to save animating in Unity. I think we're going to save this for next week. That is when you're going to need to actually animate something as your avatar in our Pokemon Go variant. As your avatar moves around, as you walk around the city, as you use the cheat code to do so in the editor, we need your character to animate, to begin walking, all right? You walk faster, the character will animate faster. So that's going to be required next week for P2 Gold, and so we will cover that topic. I'll help walk you through it next week, okay? All right, I think that's just about it, everyone. I'm going to start my office hours a bit early. I'll stay until about 4:20. Please let me know if you're running into issues with any of those tougher P2 Alpha tasks, and I'll help however I can. If you're watching remotely, and I think quite a few of you are, then please ping me, DM me on the course Discord server, and I'll try and hop in there and help you as soon as I can. Okay? Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.